Hello everyone, if you don't know who I am, well then you can call me Ari, and please ignore this giant mess behind me because that is just a result of a failed skit that I tried to produce where I totally wasn't dabbling in the occult just so I could try to make one of my gay yaoi ships canon. And as you can see, it didn't go well because the lighting in my house is literal ass and nobody could see me or what I was doing, and I have no resources to fix it because I have no job and I make these YouTube videos in secret, and I really wish I had the skill and charisma in order to maybe self-employ myself and make money off of these videos, but of course that is just a very stupid dream. But a girl can still dream. Oh, I'm sorry, was that dark? Well, who cares because it's the month of dark shit. It's October, aka everyone's favorite time of the year except mine, but my shitty opinions doesn't matter. But what really matters this month is you, dear viewer, you who are looking for something to keep you up at night, you who are looking for something to watch, something to read that will put you in the mood for Halloween, because it is that time of the year, and I am the least qualified person to do it because I hate October, I hate fall, I hate Halloween, but my opinions doesn't matter because I want to try and help you. I have subjected myself to many different horror webcomics and anime just to try and recommend for you, for your enjoyment, for your pleasure, as I try and make your October just a little bit more scary this spook month, which I guess is what we're calling it. It was a working title name, but I literally cannot come up with anything better. So yeah, let's name this after a dumb meme. And I still get this video out a week late. I really hate myself sometimes, but my self-defecating humor doesn't matter. What matters are all of the horror webcomics and anime that I watch to give myself nightmares over in order for you to read their viewer. So this month, I am going to do my best to give you the same nightmares that I experienced. So I thought, why not start off this month with a comic, as this channel did get started on talking about comics, and talking about anime failed to come out on time, and it's kind of weird to just drop a talking about anime on you guys. So yeah, comics. We're talking about a comic, and this comic is one that if I didn't talk about it, I would hate myself. One that you should not read at night, or do. I'm not going to stop you. Your life. And this comic is one that you can read right now for free online webtoons. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Melvina's Therapy by A. Razor. I'm terrible with names. In this anthology series, we follow a woman named Melvina, an elder woman whose occupation is that of a therapist, as she tries to listen to her patients' worries, fears, stories, etc., and tries to help them by offering advice. The key word here being help. Her advice leads to patients recalling past events or acting out whatever she tells them to do. And we follow them through their journeys as they try to get better in a way. But being a horror webcomic, everything is not as simple or as normal as it seems. The same goes for our leading lady, Melvina. And being an anthology series, there are many stories for us to follow, all that will tie in into one consistent plot. Unlike the other Talking About Comics episodes I've done in the past, this is the first full and probably rare few Talking About Comics episodes that I will do for a recently published webcomic. As of the time of this video, currently being published online webtoons with 22 episodes as this comic calls it, there are so far 2 completed chapters with a 3rd one ongoing. The 3rd chapter, Rosin says, is going to be his longest one yet. And please excuse me because I am telling you jack all about this comic. This is a comic that you have to go into blind. This is a comic that you cannot know anything about. This is a comic that if you know even the tiniest, the slightest of detail, you are automatically ruining the fun for yourself. You cannot know anything about Melvina's Therapy. Even the description of this comic will not tell you what this comic is about. I'm honestly not even going to go over the characters because if I do, once again, I'm ruining a bit of the fun for you. I just heard a strange noise and I thought it was a ghost. That is how much this comic freaks me out. So instead, I want to talk about some of the more external elements of this comic, starting with the creator. When you read the description of this comic, it tells you that this comic is about mental illness, anxiety, depression, etc. But when you read the creator's bio, it says this. Quote, "My childhood was hard, but I decided the past wouldn't stop me from pursuing my artistic dreams. Art is therapeutic for me. It is where I can examine and present my dark past in hopes for you to enjoy." End quote. Reading this comic with that kind of information, you realize you're not only reading a entertaining, scary comic about mental illness, you are reading a character study of the author. You are formally invited into Raisin's mind and his personal space in order to examine and maybe even enjoy in kind of a sick and twisted way, making this comic what you would call another form of venting entertainment. And honestly, Raisin is right, because this is a damn good comic. This is a story that is drenched in mystery and symbolism, a story that absolutely refuses to spoon feed you, a story with no clear answer or resolve, a story with a comment section that is full of people making theories trying to figure out what the hell is going on here. And it is extremely satisfying and rewarding when you finish a chapter, when you finally come to that conclusion of what this really was and what it means. Raisin even has extras at the end of every chapter where he points out and explains and confirms fan theories or mysteries and symbolism. And you can say that that takes away some of the fun of this comic, but honestly, I enjoy it because there's so much here that is hard to understand. And it's also rewarding when the creator confirms your theories and he goes, yeah, you guys were right. Good job. And that makes us feel smart. And horror fans, get ready to have a field day, because there are tons of references to horror games, literature, movies, things that I would have never caught if it wasn't pointed out to me, because once again, I'm not that into horror. Most importantly, this comic has meaning to it. One of the reasons why I can't get into horror, besides being easily scared and not liking to be scared, is because to me, horror doesn't have a real meaning or a personality to it. Nowadays, you look at a horror movie or a book and it doesn't scare you. It just wants to cash in on all the horror fans that just want a good scary movie but don't find it. Honestly, to me, it's like no one wants to create something dark anymore. Nobody wants to create something that scares you, that makes you think, that pursues that dark corner of your mind and holds it out to you and make you look at it. This comic does that. This comic has a true purpose and meaning behind it. That one being of mental illness and trying to make all your hopes and dreams out into these very dark pieces and having to overcome this fear, this horror that you might have about yourself and your future. And I enjoy that so much because you just don't see it anymore. And with that, Melvina's therapy is what it sets out to be, a dark, twisted look into your mind, into the creator's mind. It wants to help, but it wants to help by scaring the shit out of you. And trust me, this comic will scare the shit out of you. But before I get into that, I do want to say something about the characters. This being an anthology series, there are bound to be many of them, and they're going to fade in and out into existence. And because of that, you're going to have to write them in a way that makes the reader remember them, that makes the reader feel sympathetic for them in the situations that they are in. And these characters are fine. It really ranges. In the first story, the characters are just there to get the job done, but as the stories go on and gets longer, then you have more time to develop and flesh out these characters, which is kind of the drawback to this comic. If there is one character that I briefly want to talk about, it is Melvina. This is a woman who at most we see 3 times a chapter, a woman who is the main and title character but lurks in the background, and she fascinates me. This is an elder woman who is professional and does her job but makes no promises and has her own intentions. She's completely mysterious with her own motives, and fuck me if I know what she's doing, because no one does. But in all seriousness, she is the character that I enjoy most. She is the character that as soon as she comes on, my eyes are just glued to my tablet screen as I just want to know more. I want to know what she's doing. I want to know what she's planning. And we just have to read and find out and continue to make up stories and theories about what mystery is behind a woman named Melvina. Because just flat out being told what she's doing just ruins the fun. Fuck me, this art is beautiful. The art in this comic is realistic and detailed. Characters look like real people, and a lot of the more freaky parts of this comic is realism mixed with other real elements just combines to create this one grotesque looking image. That's honestly the best way I can put it without spoiling it. I want to be a writer. Sometimes I believe Raisin's line work can be just a little bit too much. Sometimes there's just too many lines in one place. Sometimes it can look a bit rough. Sometimes there can be lines that are clearly meant to represent something like ruffles and clothing, but can look very out of place without the proper weighting or length of the line along with shading to accompany it. But that still doesn't stop how fucking awesome this comic looks. I believe good art and design is just one of the keys to making a good horror comic or game or movie, etc. Because you want your reader to be entertained by your story, yes, but how do you expect to scare them if you don't have the good art in order to accompany it? This comic contains some nightmare fuel. I'm not kidding. This comic actually gave me nightmares. I made the mistake of reading this comic in its entirety during a night, and before I went to bed, I just knew I was going to get nightmares, so I had to mentally prepare myself in order for the nightmares that were coming, and I had to wake myself up 5 times that night because I just didn't want nightmares. Even then, I looked around my room and I could have sworn I saw some dark, shadowy, mysterious figure in the corner. That is how much this comic freaks me out. Yeah, this comic scares the shit out of me, and that is thanks to the art. And what the fuck are up with all the birds in this comic? Guys, look, I'm not gonna lie. I fucking love this comic so far. It scares the shit out of me. It's disturbing, it's dark, it's entertaining, and it has a purpose to it. The 3 stories are very well written, the art is beautiful, and I wish Rosin had a store or a blog outside of this comic so that I could see and support some of his work some more, because I follow him on Twitter and all of his art is nothing outside of this comic. If I gave scores, I would give this comic a 9 out of 10 at the most, which, considering the past comics I talked about on Talking About Comics, this would be the highest rated comic I have talked about so far, tied with The Crawling City, because this comic just impresses me. And once again, as someone who doesn't like horror or being scared, maybe I'm dumb. Maybe there's better stuff out there. Maybe I should just stop doing Spook Month right now. Hell, I already am a week behind on making this video. Honestly, this is a great comic, and it's one of the best ones I have read for this month so far. And it just reminds me not to just stay away from a genre, because yes, although it does scare me and that's something I don't like, I'm missing out on so many great works like this one. But yeah, I really enjoy this comic, and you can go read it right now for free online webtoon. It updates every Thursday night. The updates have gotten shorter compared to the previous ones, but it doesn't stop how enjoyable this comic is. And please remember that making comics are hard. So the creator does have a Patreon that I will link in the description below, along with the link to the comic and his Twitter. Speaking of Twitter, how about you guys go follow me at CallMeRENS, where you can talk to me and see me retweet fan art. I'm a pretty okay person, I guess. My other links and junk are down there as well, and if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. I have other videos like this, both made and on the way, along with talking about anime, which will be the next entry into this month of Spook Month. I still cannot believe that's the name I'm going for this. Oh my god, someone kill me. Anyway, that is all for me. Once again, my name is Ari, and until next time, please remember, the best therapist is one that you connect with, but pay attention to any red flags around you. Who knows? You might get caught up in your own personal nightmare.